Before coming to Congress, I spent years in the wind industry, which does make me somewhat biased, but I agree wholeheartedly with all of the above strategy, including nuclear. I'd love to see small modular reactors come online. That's a very good concept. I did have the opportunity in my career to work with Xcel, with OEA, and with the Nebraska Public Power. So it was a great opportunity to get to know some of your businesses. We often hear about the war on coal, but withstanding some regional differences that were pointed out by Mr. McClure and Mr. Moll, the war on coal is really about natural gas underpricing coal in most parts of the country. So I hear that refrain often, but I have a hard time swallowing it. I have some questions, though. Mr. Folk, would you comment on the system stability impacts of wind and solar energy in your utilities?
Yeah, the reliability issues increase, obviously, the more renewables you have on system. I mentioned in my testimony at one point earlier this year we had 57% of our energy coming from wind. So when that happens, you have to quickly back down your generation, and typically you want that to be a gas-fired generation versus nuclear or coal because they're designed better for those sorts of things. So you have to ramp up and ramp down, and you have to follow the load accordingly. And that does, as you get higher levels of penetration, increase the cost of having that much renewables on your system.
Well, you mentioned that Xcel is on track to reduce carbon emissions by 20% with price stability. Would you describe how that's possible?
Well, as I said before, I mean, it's really getting started early. It's taking advantage of a very rich wind resource in our backyard. It's retiring all aging coal plants that are probably beyond their service life, particularly with the environmental regulations ahead. So I would say it's an all of the above strategy to do that, but you get started early and it's steady and slow.
Good. I like your answers. They don't last too long, so I still have a little time left. I could ask 30 minutes of questions if I had the time. How would you, Mr. Folk, how does wind energy form a hedge against price spikes?
You know, that's a great question. Wind, as we all know, is interruptible. So we view it, while it has a capacity factor for planning, we put a very small capacity factor on. So it's fuel. So you can build it and you can determine how long what it's gonna cost over a 20-year period. For us, that's about $40 a megawatt hour. Then you compare that to other fuel sources, natural gas specifically. Yeah. Sometimes at $40 a megawatt hour, it's in the money, as it was when natural gas was at $8 and $10. Sometimes it's a little bit out of the money, as it is today in a very low natural gas environment, but it's still a hedge.
So, and are you investing in storage?
At this point, with a low natural gas environment, storage is not competitive.
Okay. Mr. Gramlich, would you elaborate on your statement that shale has benefited from reliable credits, whereas wind energy hasn't?
Sure. I think shale gas is a success story. I know this committee has been interested in bringing new options into the electric portfolio and shale gas. People can say a lot about it, but certainly it has increased dramatically and changed the game in the industry. And also certainly the tax credit played a key role in that. There was, I believe, over 20 years of stability in that credit, which helped a lot with investors. Our problem with investors, we have many investors who would, as you know, and you have the wind patent, I don't, but as you know, investing in these technologies, you could make a lot of cost-reducing investments and performance-improving investments if you knew what the market might be like a few years down the road. But if you only know a year or two at a time, it's very hard to justify those investments. So the stability of the credit is as crucial as the value in terms of cents a kilowatt hour.
Thank you. Mr. McCullough, could you quickly explain what SMR development is for nuclear?
Yes, it is the small modular reactor development that you referenced.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Chairman, I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back his time. Chair now recognizes himself for 5 minutes. And my staff's bringing, and I agree.